Hello everyone, it's time for Good Week Israel, where we bring you the most positive highlights from this week at ILTV. Now get ready to smile, because coming up, Israeli Antiquities Authority rediscovers long-lost ancient cistern and artifacts. Israeli researchers discover what is likely the cheapest method of killing COVID yet, and we'll learn how to make Iraqi-style herb and potato latkes. Now, an ancient cistern unearthed in 1934 and then lost again, recently rediscovered by the Israeli Antiquities Authority. Incredible artifacts included. Hannah Rifkin reporting.
A treasure trove of stone molds, pottery including dozens of oil lamps and more, now unearthed by Israel Antiquities Authorities at a dig site near Beit Shemesh, just west of the capital city of Jerusalem. And just in time for the Hanukkah holiday too. The 1700-year-old artifacts, apparently from an ancient oil lamp workshop, were discovered amidst work for the development of a new residential neighborhood.
איך אנחנו יודעים שאנחנו בבית יוצר? בגלל התבניות אבן האלה. תבניות אבן זה משהו שהיוצר, הקדר, משתמש בהן כדי להכין בעצם נרות בכמויות. לוקח את תבנית האבן, מדביק עליה את הגוש חמר, מדביק שתי תבניות עליונה ותחתונה אחת לשנייה, וככה נוצר לנו בעצם הנר, וככה יש לנו בעצם ייצור המוני של נרות, שהדוגמה המאותרת עליהם נראית בדיוק אותו דבר. עוד אחד ועוד אחד, עשרות ומאות נרות שמופצים בכל רחבי האזור, בכל רחבי ארץ ישראל למעשה. הממצאים שלנו בעצם כוללים גם את הנרות חרס. אנחנו רואים כאן פרצוף צלמית של סוס. אנחנו מכירים צלמיות בדמויות אנושיות, נשים, גברים, בעלי חיים. יש לנו מסכות, שזה גם מאפיין את משפחת בית נתיב. באמת איזשהו עולם איקונוגרפי מאוד מאוד מיוחד ומעניין.
Beyond holding links to the lives of ancient Israelites, though, the discovery actually also solves another nearly century-long mystery.
הסיפור שלנו מתחיל בשנות ה-30 של המאה ה-20. מפקח אגף העתיקות, דימיטרי ברמקי, מתחיל לקבל ידיעות על טיפוס נרות חדש שמסתובב בשוק העתיקות בירושלים. אחרי מחקר שהוא עושה, הוא מגלה שמקור הנרות מבית נטיף. ואותו ברמקי מגיע לכאן, עושה את החפירה הארכיאולוגית, מוצא הרבה מאוד טיפוסים של נרות, של צלמיות, את התבניות אבן ששימשו להכנת הנרות האלה, והמיקום המדויק של הבורות נעלם. יום אחד אנחנו חופרים פה, ופתאום נפער לנו הפתח הזה. ונכנסתי. והתחלתי להתרגש. גיליתי תיבת מתכת חלודה. מצאנו פה גם את הסלים שבהם הוא חפר את האדמה. בעצם ידענו שבינגו, ידענו שמצאנו את בור המים של ברמקי.
Finally, regarding the area itself, antiquities experts tell us that the artifacts tell the story of the Judean hills in the period following the Bar Kokhba revolt, where much of the Jewish population in the area was diminished and mixed with or replaced by pagan settlers.
Moving on, heartwarming support for Israel is seemingly spreading this holiday season, and this time coming in from Florida. Lidar Gavelazi with the story.
Florida residents can now stand with Israel on their license plates. The public design contest for the Florida Stands with Israel specialty license plate was sponsored by the Israeli-American Council, and the winning design is by artist Daniel Ackerman, a graphic designer from Boca Raton, Florida. Ackerman's design focuses on the orange blossom, Florida's state flower contrasted with the Star of David and set against a background of two waves on the top and bottom, giving nod to the Israeli flag with desert sand and the sea. He explains of his design.
The license plate design is inspired by the lyrics Florida, Land of Flowers, Land of Light from the Florida state anthem Where the Sawgrass Meets the Sky. The concept focuses on Florida's state flower, the orange blossom. The beauty of this flower, lined up in unison with the Star of David in the form of a tropical leaf, represents the Florida-Israel relationship and the fruit this partnership bears, ultimately benefiting both states.
The specialty plate was signed into law by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on the eve of Rosh Hashanah and enjoyed bipartisan sponsorship, passing through both the Florida House and Senate unanimously. The winning concept was chosen out of over 100 submissions to the public design contest sponsored by the IEC and coordinated by Artists for Israel. Ackerman's design will be featured on a specialty license plate that will go into production once 3,000 pre-sale plates have been sold. A portion of the revenue generated by the sales will benefit Hatzalah of Miami-Dade, a nonprofit organization organization that deploys community-based, state-certified volunteer paramedics to slash response times and increase survival rates in medical emergencies. Israeli-American Council co-founder and CEO Shoam Nicolet and IAC board member and IAC for Action Board chairman Sean Evenheim said in a joint statement that the Florida-Israel relationship is a special one that ranges from trade to culture and contributes to quality of life for all Floridians.
Now, for all of you Israeli basketball fans, the Washington Wizards NBA team has launched an official Hebrew Twitter page following their drafting of Israeli player Dani Avdija last month. The account's description says that it will have an Israeli focus and has already posted a video welcoming Israeli fans to the page. Here's a peek.
שלום לכל האוהדים הישראלים של וושינגטון וויזארדס. אני רוצה לברך אתכם, ברוכים הבאים לעמוד הטוויטר הרשמי של וושינגטון בעברית. מקווה שתהנו, כל התוכן פה בעברית, רק בשבילכם, אוהב אתכם המון מוושינגטון. נשיקות.
Avdija also took part in the official candle lighting ceremony of the Israeli embassy in the United States, and he was asked to take the honor of lighting the first candle for Hanukkah 2020.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו להדליק נר של חנוכה. Amen.
Now, the United States Embassy also invited another special guest for the third candle, the United Arab Emirates ambassador to Washington.
This year, I'm lighting the Hanukkah candles with you at the same time the Jewish community in the UAE are lighting their Hanukkah candles. Now that is peace. Next year, let us hope we can celebrate this holiday together in person.
Hanukkah of 2020 was especially different for the Jews of Dubai as it came months after the normalization deal between the UAE and Israel.
Right now, live on, the whole world is talking about Morocco and Israel, but no one forgets that the UAE was the leader. UAE started this whole peace process, and everything started here in this great place.
In other news, ringing in the new peace in the Middle East, delegates from Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates visited Israel as they took part in the annual holiday celebrations. Arriving in Jerusalem at the Western Wall, the delegations participated in a candle lighting ceremony, with Chief Rabbi of the Western Wall, Shmuel Rabinovich, calling their visit a magnificent Hanukkah miracle. But of course, that's not all. Israeli President Reuven Rivlin welcomed the visitors at his mansion in Jerusalem. And speaking for all Israelis, he blessed both the group as well as the future that their visit represents.
Such a pleasure. When we are talking about peace, it's people to people.
It's a new era, and we're so happy for it.
And let's look forward that you will be the bridge to bring a lot of understanding between all the people in the region. It is a real pleasure. God bless all of you and welcome, welcome.
Now, on a somewhat related note, the normalization of ties between Israel and the incredible North African nation of Morocco is now bearing its first fruits. Israeli airlines prepping for direct routes to Casablanca and perhaps even to Marrakesh. Of course, unlike with some of the other recently signed peace partners, hundreds of thousands of Israelis have already been traveling to Morocco every year, with hundreds of thousands of Israeli Jews tracing their roots to Morocco's Jewish community. The only difference is now, thankfully, will be in the new visa guidelines expected to be eased. The ticket price now dropping to roughly $450 and the time spent in the air. Direct flights are expected to reduce traveling time to just 5 hours as opposed to between 11 and 14. Finally, if you're interested in being the first to go, Israel's main airliners Arkia, El Al, and Israel are hoping to get the flight plans off the ground by Passover in late March of 2021. Moving on, vaccine or no vaccine, experts worldwide are continuously looking for new and improved methods of killing the coronavirus. But to that end, it seems that some researchers at Tel Aviv University are now rediscovering the age-old adage of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why? Well, because it turns out that readily available and inexpensive ultraviolet LEDs, or light-emitting diodes, are perfectly capable of killing up to 99.9% of the virus with just 30 seconds of exposure. And while we already know that UV radiation can kill bacteria and viruses, the TAU study shows that coronavirus specifically can be killed with UV light at a wavelength of just 285 nanometers. Or to put that in layman's terms, by safer and more energy-efficient bulbs that you can find at the cheap at your nearest hardware store. And this as opposed to the 265 nanometer bulbs, which are considerably more sparse and expensive. Now, from defending against viruses to defending against attack, Israeli research and development again making headlines this time as the country's famous missile defense system gets another upgrade. Hannah Rifkin reporting.
The IDF is announcing the latest successful testing of its three-tiered air shield. An Israeli Defense Ministry video showing the newly upgraded system in action, taking out multiple simulated targets. The Aero Ballistic Missile Interceptor working in high altitudes, the David Sling Middle Altitude Interceptor, and the Iron Dome batteries which shoot down short-range rockets and mortar shells. Meanwhile, with the threat of Iran lately growing, Israel's already looking into sharing its new toys too. Senior IDF officials reportedly saying that Israel is open to future cooperations on missile defense with our new allies and friends in the Arab Gulf.
And moving on, Israeli technology is in the limelight as Netafim's famous drip irrigation becomes the latest saving grace in fighting food scarcity, as well as, of course, harmful climate change. Hannah Rifkin again with the story.
Rice. It's a dietary staple for upwards of half the global population. But rice paddies are also surprisingly responsible for 1/10 of the world's annually produced methane in the atmosphere, while drinking up 30 to 40% of all annually used fresh water. And that's where Israeli company Netafim comes in.
The rice cultivation in the world is responsible for 10% of the gas of methane emissions to the world. It's equivalent to all what the aviation industry sends methane to the world every year. And with our solution, it goes to zero.
The solution? None other than drip irrigation. Originally developed decades ago to help transform Israel's arid landscape into acres upon acres of farmable produce, Netafim's incredible drip irrigation technology is now being reworked worldwide for rice and a host of other crops. And the results are amazing.
We have finished the beta stage. That means we have 1,000 hectares, commercially grown, in many countries all over the world. Italy, India, Turkey, with great results and farmers that achieving the goals of saving 70% water, zero methane emission, and great yields.
Moving the rice from paddy cultivation to drip irrigation cultivation allows the farmers to rotate the crops and do more than just rice, and with that they improve their livelihood and they also enable to grow more food with less resources.
And finally, we're about to learn how to make aruk, possibly your new latke staple. World-renowned Israeli chef Einat Admoni shows Naomi from kosher.com how to create aruk, Iraqi-style herb and potato latkes. They're packed with flavor and they're easy to make by hand. Take a look.
Hi, I'm Naomi Nachman, and this is Sunny Side Up. A very special guest today on kosher.com.
Who is that?
It's you! I'm so excited to have two-time cookbook author, restaurant owner, comedian. She does so much. Welcome, Chef Einat Admoni, for my show today. I'm like so honored to have you here.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Your latest book, Shook, is incredible. I read it from cover to cover, and I felt like I was going on a shook tour with you the entire time reading it.
A lot of new stuff, right?
A lot of
Even
new
for
stuff.
you that you're going a lot to Israel, you can see that there is markets that you never visited.
I've never been to all those Tel Aviv markets before, so it was really a real eye-opener, and I'm excited to cook some of the stuff with you today.
So today we're going to do more like Iraqi style latke. So in Israel, I grew up with not the grated potato, but baked potato or boiled potato, and then we will make like patties, and that's how we call it levivot.
Levivot, okay. Very
so this is the Iraqi style that called aruk. I really love it. We have some baked potato, and I like to bake the potato and not to boil them because then they not absorb a lot of water. We have some herbs. We have cilantro and parsley.
I love cilantro.
I know. Some people doesn't.
I don't understand what that means.
Some crazy people doesn't. So here we have some scallion. We have 2 eggs. We have baharat. I love it. There is cumin, there is cloves, there is allspice. There is a lot of spices inside, all warm spices. And it's make it really, it's give them depth of almost like meat, you know? So it's vegetarian, and that will change a little bit the nature of these patties.
All right, okay, we're cooking together.
Yes.
Okay, so she's grating the onion and I am scooping the potato. So how long did we bake these potatoes for?
Around 40 minutes until you can take a fork and
just going around the edges.
Yeah.
And I don't want the skin, so I'm just being a little bit careful. I like that you're hand grating those onions. Could you put them in a blender, or is it better to
Yes, I
hand
do
grate
that
them?
sometimes.
Can I put that?
Yeah, yes. So I will do a lot of time when I do meatballs for a lot of people. I will do the onion inside a food processor and even the herbs, and then mix it in a mix instead of to chop everything.
Right, it becomes very tedious, and you need to work quickly in the kitchen.
Yeah. And I host a lot at home, even though I have several restaurants. I'm still cooking. I have 2 kids and too many friends.
It's a good thing. Everybody wants to be your friend. They always want to come and eat at your house.
Usually on Friday around 10 a.m. till 2 o'clock, I'm getting just text from Fred. So what time tonight? Not, do you have a dinner? We coming for Shabbat. It's what time I'm coming.
I love that.
I know.
We're doing good?
We're doing great.
I'm the official potato scooper for Einat. Okay. Okay, now what she's mashing it with a potato masher.
Yeah, it would be easier.
Good old-fashioned technique there. I just want to feel this. Oh, using my strength here.
I'm going to do this. And it's going to be beautiful green.
Should I mix?
Yes, please.
I love the amount, a lot of herbs. I like that.
And as my mom taught me, don't waste anything.
Yeah.
Here. And there is a scallion.
Look, it's like almost green.
Yeah. And then we just put tiny flour to hold it. Don't need much here.
It's like maybe a teaspoon or 2.
Yeah.
Not even a tablespoon.
There is 2 tablespoons. But I'm really doing instruction that you can slowly. Sometimes it's changing, you know. Sometimes it needs more because the potato are too wet, and sometimes you need a little bit less. So there is, of course, a very accurate measurement for the specific potato I did. But you know, sometimes it's baked like until it gets so dry that you don't need as much as flour anymore.
Okay, so that's interesting. You kind of have to go by look and taste.
Here is a little bit cumin.
Cumin, and now you paprika, and then you put the baharat.
And then the baharat, yeah.
Which has also got cumin in it.
A little.
For me, there's never enough cumin.
I know.
So
we used to have a jokes in the kitchen that if we create a dish that is not filled Middle Eastern or Israeli enough, we said, oh, just put a little bit cumin in it.
I love that.
So everything, like most of my mixes, the spice I use the most will be cumin, paprika, and turmeric. That's the 3 first one. And then I have a lot of different blend, like Hawaiian, which is Yemenite.
I love Hawaiian.
You do?
Yeah.
So I grew up on that. My dad was Yemenite, Zichrono Livracha, and he was, we're doing a lot of soup, a lot of bread, a lot of the kubana we talked earlier, yeah.
All right,
So
what's the next step?
I'm going to try it. All right. Now we're going to take just like that, look.
Okay, we're making a patty. Our oil is nice and hot.
Beautiful.
Oh, it's all about the sizzle. And you'd think
you
it would
can
fall
make
apart, but it's not. It's
No.
holding beautifully. Shall I lower
And
it?
if you feel that is, you know what's happened when you start putting salt, it starts like taking the liquid out. So
Yeah.
you need to be careful. But for me, if I feel it's too moist, I would put a little bit more flour, no problem. But I like it that it's like runny like that because that's mean it's going to be super moist inside and
Okay,
still
that's what we
crispy.
want.
I grew up in Bnei Brak, no much dairy in my house, but later on when I got out and I came to New York, there is much more dairy in my life now. So there is a sauce that I made especially for you with preserved lemon that actually going in my cookbook with beet latke.
Oh,
but I want
yum.
you to try it here, and you can do it with just tahini, raw tahini or tahini sauce with some lemon. There's endless things you can just serve it with.
Delicious. Dear, and this is like so perfect for Hanukkah.
And easy because you can make it the day before. You know, latke, you have
Has
to
to
make
eat fresh.
it. Yeah.
Frying pan to the table. This can
Yeah,
actually...
but you also need to grate it really fast and be sure it's not oxidized. And this is a little bit different because you can first you
Right.
can make it a day before and then eat it up and they're going to be great. You can make just all the masa like also a day or two before and just make it
Fry it up fresh.
Yeah.
That's nice and golden brown, and you see a little bit of the colour from the herbs peeking through.
So this is the food I grew up on. Like a lot of Iraqi food, Persian food, and Yemenite food. That was basic in my house.
And it's a big crossover of all of that.
Yeah. Well, you know, I do amba aioli. It's also in the cookbook. And this is a little bit lighter, and I do that for years.
So Annette plated this up nicely for us. We have our, what do we call it?
Aruk. Aruk. And then I like it with a little bit lemon. You can put just tiny lemon. You can put drizzle tahini. And I will put, I made also a sauce. This is preserved lemon yogurt. You can do preserved lemon with aioli if you want to keep it parve. You can just make like a beautiful tahini sauce with this almighty tahini. You can have roasted peppers inside the tahini sauce. There is endless.
Okay,
you want a little bit acid, so I want a little bit acid, and
I'm gonna.
Okay, I do
nice
that.
little drizzle,
and I will do.
I'm gonna have the tahina one. Okay, here we go.
Cheers.
Let's have one.
Oh
my god.
Wow, I like the acid. Like it?
I'm gonna put some more lemon on it. Because you said acid.
This is good, and you see the chunks of potato inside. It's great.
Oh my god, this is amazing. Thanks so much, Annette, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You are a rock star. Good luck with the book.
Thank
Guys,
you.
go check out her book, Shook. You'll take a virtual Shook tour reading her book. You can find this recipe and more like it on kosher.com.
All right, that's it for today's Good Week Israel. I hope that we've helped you start your week off with a smile. I'm Aaron Porras. See you next week.